Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and as you all probably know very well, Super Rugby is taking a break for a month and it won't be back till July, but in the meantime there's a little issue, a little matter of June International Rugby to take care of. That is right, and we have some team namings that have taken place over this last weekend down here in the Southern Hemisphere. We're going to be having a first up look at the three Southern Hemisphere side squad for these internationals. Of course, we have England going to Australia, we have Ireland going to South Africa, and we have Wales coming to New Zealand. So the All Blacks, the Wallabies and the Springboks have all named their squads for this up-and-coming series, respectively, and we'll be having a look at those three sides today, and we'll be having a look at the Irish, Welsh and English side very soon as well, before those internationals kick off in 2 weekends' time. Of course, we'll be having a preview to see who I think is going to win each match, of course, closer to that weekend kicking off, just like we've done for Super Rugby. But first things first, we're going to have a look at these three sides coming out of the three Southern Hemisphere powerhouse sides. And seeing as I'm from New Zealand and an avid All Black supporter, we're going to tune into the All Black side first and foremost. That was named this morning. This is Sunday night, I'm recording this, so it was announced on Sunday morning about 10 a.m. or something ridiculous. Who gets up at that hour anyway on a Sunday? It was named a 32-man squad, so we'll start things off as we always do in the front row with the props for this squad. A lot of interesting calls in this squad. We'll go through them as we get to them as well for this team naming. So, again, the squad made up from 18 forwards and 14 backs. So we'll start in those 18 forwards. The props, there's been 5 props named, and most of them, everyone should know who they really are now. Charlie Faumuina, Owen Franks, Wyatt Crockett, and Joe Moody are the ones that everyone would have seen in a black jersey before. If you've watched at least any of the All Blacks, you'll know most of those names. The one that many people might not know is Ofa Tuangafasi. Now, he is a Blues player who can play on both sides of the pack. That ultimately what got him the nod over other rivals to that position. Hasn't had the best season in Super Rugby, but the All Black environment is something that players often experience a number of times, maybe once, maybe 2, 3, 10 times, before they actually get out there on the field. So, Ofa Tuangafasi is one that I don't expect to come rip-roaring straight out into the starting 15 for the match, but I do see what the All Black selectors are going for here. He can be a good scrummager. He's not going to devastate Argentina by any means, but he has the ability to hold his own. I think with the All Black coaching staff, definitely will improve what he can do. He's a strong runner around the field. I think he just needs a bit more time to develop. It may not be the last time we see him in the All Blacks camp, but I don't think he'll be seeing much time in the All Blacks front row starting, especially. Faumuina, Franks, Crockett, Moody have been the mainstays. Those 4, I think, will share the main workload. Into the hookers, Cody Taylor, Nathan Harris and Dane Coles. Well, if you don't know who Cody Taylor and Nathan Harris is, just think of Dane Coles and just duplicate him, because that's ultimately what Nathan Harris and Cody Taylor are. Nathan Harris for the Chiefs, Cody Taylor for the Crusaders. Very much able runners, spend time out on the wings. They do those last passes that score all those rubbish fall over the line tries that hookers love to score these days. It's just 3 Dane Coles really, and I think that is exceptional to have along the middle of the pack. Into the second row and the locks, and there's no surprises who is being named here whatsoever. Sam Whitelock, Brady Retallick, Patrick Tuipulotu and Luke Romano. You could say there's cases with players like Dominic Bird and Scott Barrett, but ultimately 4 names there that are going to mainstay that second row in the All Blacks for quite some time, and there's not much you can really do to argue about that. The loose forwards of the back row. This is where there's a lot of players who could have and should have been there may not deserve it, maybe they did deserve it. Let's have a look at who was first named as the back rowers for this All Black squad. Sam Cane, no surprise. Ardie Savea, extremely deserved. Kieran Reid, captain. Who else? Elliot Dixon, I've got to say deserved. The Southland man, much deserved to finally get an All Black jersey. Many called for it last year. He didn't quite make it. Jerome Kaino has really been just the only rock in the Blues pack. And Liam Squire, possibly the big bolter from the Highlanders as well. An exquisite runner of the ball. But does he have the skill set required to be an All Black? He'll be the one like Tuangafasi who has a bit of a apprenticeship to serve here in the All Black squad to see what he can really offer. So the likes of Sam Cane, Ardie Savea, Kieran Reid, Jerome Kaino, no problems with those. I think Elliot Dixon has been consistently outstanding and deserves to be there for his amazing form. Liam Squire, he's getting question marks when there's other players like Matt Todd, Stephen Luatua, Jordan Taufua, Victor Vito that have not been named in this All Black squad. Who's right, who's wrong? No one's right, no one's wrong. This is all opinion after all. Liam Squire, a bold call, but this is what June Internationals are all about. We know what the likes of Victor Vito can offer, and I'm sure we'll see him in a black jersey again. Stephen Luatua, on the other hand, I think we might have seen all of him for now. Maybe you'll see him again later on. The likes of Matt Todd and Jordan Taufua. I mean, you sit in the shadow of Richie McCaw for long enough, and now you got to sit in the shadow of others. It is a contentious area for the All Blacks, but those are the ones they've picked, and I think Liam Squire and Elliot Dixon may see a little bit of game time, but ultimately Cane, Savea, Reid, Kaino will do the bulk of the work unless this series is over before it starts. Into the backs, Aaron Smith and Tuera Karbalo are the only scrum halves or halfbacks chosen in this All Black squad. Questions asked about Tuera Karbalo over TJ Perenara, Brad Weber. There's a lot of names that people have been calling should be there instead. But Karbalo, he's the one that's always fitted into the All Black style as a backup, that energy after Aaron Smith, and it's hard to argue with that as well. The first 5/8, all the fly halves, are three names: Aaron Cruden, Beauden Barrett, Lima Sopoaga. If you're surprised by that, then it's time to stop living under a rock. The question is who will start. I think Lima Sopoaga is the best in form all round, first five at the moment. Beauden Barrett will do well to see himself on the bench, coming on at fullback or possibly the wing. Aaron Cruden, he's kind of the incumbent back from injury, isn't he? But I say Aaron Cruden will start the first test. Win, lose or draw that one, Lima Sopoaga will start test 2, and then result driven we'll see who will start the final test of that series as well. So no real surprises there at number 10 at all. The midfield though, this is really the most interesting part. It's really hard to replace a Conrad Smith and a Ma'aunonu, but I think half of that job is done with Malakai Fekitoa, the other half with the recently committed Sonny Bill Williams as well. But in the meantime, who's going to fill that role? Ryan Crotty is the man who's been there for years and really should easily slot in, does nothing wrong, and he leaves the fancy stuff to the likes of Fekitoa or outside him. He's pretty much a carbon copy of a Conrad Smith in that term, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Fekitoa 12 and Crotty 13, or vice versa. Those two can really swap it up how they like. The other two in the team are Charlie Ngatai and Seta Tamani Valu, which are actually names, and I was planning this part before the squad was actually named. Tamani Valu was actually a name I bandied about a bit, whether he would be worthy of getting in the squad. He has been sublime for the Chiefs this season alongside Charlie Ngatai, and I really think a combination of any of those four, Malakai Fekitoa, with any of those other three really, would make me quite happy. Tamani Valu's real test will be defensively to see if he can do the job. We know Ryan Crotty and Charlie Ngatai can get the job done. They are pretty comfortable in that position. So I'm really comfortable with those four names for the midfield positions for the All Blacks. Okay, outside backs. And we have a number of outside backs here, mostly fullbacks as well. Israel Dag, how the hell did that happen? Ben Smith, Damien McKenzie, form does count for something. Julian Savia and Waisaki Naholo. Okay, so Dag, Smith, McKenzie, fullbacks. Savia, Naholo, wingers. Bang. 3-1 doesn't really go. I think Dag will really sit it out unless the series is over again inside 2 tests. We'll see Israel Dag and Damien McKenzie get some time. Macy McKenzie covering in 10, maybe off the bench as well. Savia and Naholo, they are the wingers. I think we could see Ben Smith or Israel Dag on the wing. Even Bowden Barrett, come the time, we may see a bit of him on the edges as well. Israel Dag, I'm not his biggest fan, but I have to commend the form he's been in and what he's done for the Crusaders recently has been phenomenal. And he does deserve to get a look in. Is he the best fullback in the country? No. Not in my opinion. He needs to realise he's in a team game a lot of the time, and when his confidence gets up, it makes him almost a worse player because he does hold on to the ball too often. That's probably only my real criticism of him. He's got an absolutely gigantic boot on him as well, which is a huge asset coming in at fullback, something which would be a real asset to the team as well. But I'd like to see Damien McKenzie, a lot of criticism over him about his size, but you know, they said that when he came into Super Rugby, and he's been an absolute monster. So how do you stop him? I don't know. I'd love to see him get a go. Third test when it's 2-0 to the All Blacks. Yep, that's a bit of arrogance, isn't it? Other names here that I think are unlucky to miss out. James Lowe from the Chiefs. I think, how long does he need to be in form and fit before the All Black selectors look at him? He's a bit like Elliot Dixon. He's been fantastic for so long. Another who has a raking boot. Also, I'm pretty sure he's left-footed as well, so it gives you that other option of the other angle as well. One that I don't think should be there, but, you know, is always there or thereabouts when the back three come into talking points is Corey Jane. He's looked all right over the last few weeks. I don't think he's good enough for the All Blacks anymore, but another name to throw about there for the All Blacks squad. So that is it. That is the 32 All Blacks named for this up-and-coming June international period. What are your thoughts on that squad? Let me know in the comments below. Let's move swiftly on now and have a look at the South African squad named for their 3-match series against Ireland. Now, I've had a quick look at this side, and I know I've had a few comments as well coming through Twitter from you guys about this being the squad that many people have been calling for from Alistair Coetzee. Now, this is his first squad as well since being named the head coach, so this is maybe good signs for the South Africans in the future. Now, here's a look at their squad. We'll start things off with the front row once again. Here we go with the props. We've got Stephen Kitshoff, Frans Maholwe, Tendai Mtawawira, Trevor Naikani, and Julian Ridlinghayes. I can't complain about that whatsoever. You got some real up-and-coming talent like the 24-year-old Kitshoff. Even though he plays in Bordeaux, they've still called him up, which is great. I think that really needs to happen. There's many more like him as well that are coming in from the French sides. I mean, there's a lot of youth around the South African side as well. Like we see with the All Black squad, which I think average age is about 25 or along those lines. This is much the same from South Africa. And Maholbra, a very, very good front rower from the Stormers who has proven for a long time, alongside Kitshoff as well, that he is good enough to be in the side. And Tawawira, we all know what he offers, and I'm really excited for the South African team. So let's move on. In the middle, the hookers. Adrian Strauss, number 1 hooker, 54 caps. You can't complain about that. Then we have 2 from the Stormers, Intabini and Mbanambi. Now, a name that we've seen breaking into Super Rugby as well with the Stormers, and it's amazing to have 2 hookers from one Super Rugby team, both uncapped, both 25, and they both have a ton of potential. Great to see those guys breaking into the team as well. Are they the best choice? I think they've really looked to the future with Strauss being 30 in the hooking role as well, which is very, very good. Okay, into the second row, and amazingly, just 3 out-and-out locks have been named. Lud Diega, Peter Steph de Toit, Nebenetzer Beef. Now, what a second row. Now, if you've got an issue with that, I am really confused, because that is an absolute sublime second row. Only 3 players. Look at their age, 23, 23, and 24. That is a massive second row for South Africa and a real strength for the Springboks as well. the back row, and this is where there are some real interesting calls as well, but good calls. I'm putting it out here early. Fantastic calls here from Kudzea. We have Sai Kolisi, Jaco Kriel, finally, Francois Lowe from Bath. We have Sekambuzo Notchi, I've probably messed up his name, from the Stormers, 23-year-old. That is 4 exceptional back rowers. Then the number 8, Stain Vermeulen from Toulon. How can you leave him out? And Warren Whiteley from the Lions. I mean, Jaco Kriel, finally! Where's Tecklenburg? I mean, the Lions have some amazing flankers. It's great, though, to see the likes of Khaleesi there, Kriel, Lowe, Notchi even has been pushing for a case with some good performances from the Stormers. I gotta like it. I like these new players coming in for South Africa who have always been very reluctant to move into some new depth. Speaking of that, though, while we're on this topic, have a look at the scrum halves for this South African side. Nick Groom, uncapped. Faf de Klerk, uncapped. Rudy Page, 2 caps. Now, the World Cup squad for the Springboks come under a lot of pressure and a lot of criticism about the scrum half selection and the age and how old the players were. This has been absolutely demolished here with a 24-year-old excitement machine, Faf de Klerk from the Lions. Why has he not been capped from South Africa in the past? I do not know. Nick Groom from the Stormers, a little bit more conventional, I'd say, than a de Klerk. And Rudy Page, he broke in at the World Cup last year from the Bulls. And it's good to see they've stuck with him as well. Only 26, still got a lot of rugby ahead of him. I think that is a very, very good 3 scrum halves for the Springboks. Now, if you're happy with those scrum halves, you may just completely lose your shit over the fly halves that they have picked here. Garth April, I'll let that sink in. Elton Yantes, woohoo! Pat Lambie, yeah! Now, those first 2 names are names, especially Elton Yantes, that had to be there. I think Elton Yantes has been the form 10 in Super Rugby. I would almost go as far as saying, for the Lions, he has been instrumental to this team doing well. Now, Pat Lambie, only been back from injury for 2-3 weeks as well. 50 caps to his name from the Sharks. He's going to be number 1 when it comes to this number 10 jersey. But I am really excited to see Garth April and Elton Yantes pull on that Springboks jumper. Oh, I'm so happy for those two, especially Yantes. I think really, more than anyone, deserves to be in international rugby. Okay, so quickly, let's move on here. I'm spending a lot of time on these teams. The centres. Now, Damon Dialandi, Jesse Kriel, Lionel Mapu, and Shan Soffontaine. Not many caps of those guys there. We know the Springboks have had a lot of changes recently within their backline, but I think they're on the right line here, especially finally picking Lions players who are doing so well in Super Rugby. I mean, this Lions team is dominating, and they should be dominating this Springboks squad as well. I'm happy that we've got the likes of Mapu there. We know that Dialandi and Kriel were sublime last year. Haven't really been so effective in 2016, but still, they've showed the glimpses. I have to say, Jesse Kriel has been a bit, thrown at fullback and stuff like that, but still a very good 4 centres for the squad. Be interesting to see how these guys pair up with the All Black centres as well. The wings and fullbacks, the outside backs, if you want to call them that, Ryan Combrink, Luwazium Volvo, JP Peterson, and Willie Leroux. Once again, I'll say it, I'm really pleased to see Combrink there for the Lions because he's been scoring tries. The Lions have been amazing, and they've been the best South African side. Once again, they should dominate the team, but we're seeing a lot from the Sharks here, and Volvo, Peterson, Leroux. I think Leroux obviously has to be there, but I really hope they don't adopt the way the Sharks have been playing Super Rugby. I hope they do go with that Lions style, which this is going to be an absolute deadly side if they do the job and play with the right style. I mean, that backline could be absolutely, amazing. Imagine it. If you go through, those players can really cause a headache to any defence. And I think Ireland are in with a tough time if Coetzee can get his tactics right, attack well. This is a damn good side from the Springboks. Last but not least, we make our way to the Wallabies squad for their tests against England. Now, arguably you could say the Wallabies have the hardest task against the Six Nations champions making their way to Australia. And the Wallabies, obviously the team in the biggest transition stage at the moment. I think the way Super Rugby's been going as well, that they should have the weakest squad out of the three from the Southern Hemisphere. I think South Africa have some real talent coming through from their Super Rugby sides. Lions players are such excitements. But the Australians, the Brumbies and the Waratahs, the Waratahs look good against the Chiefs this weekend just gone, but really they've just dibble-dabbled along this season, haven't they? So let's have a look at the team, where they're coming from, and what I think of these players. We'll start, as always, in the front row with the props, and they have come away with quite a few, 6 props coming into this Wallabies side. Alan Alatoa, Greg Holmes, Sekope Kepu, Scott Seo, James Slipper, and Toby Smith are the 6 props selected from Michael Cheika and his 39-man squad. So we probably won't be spending as much time individually on these guys, given the number in the squad. But that is 6 props named. Plenty of experience picking up Kepu with that new rule that they've brought in, about over 50 caps. They can come from wherever how they like. He's from Bordeaux, and he's coming back to play for the Wallabies as well. Plenty of internationals here with Kepu and Slipper. Good to see they've brought in some new depth as well, with Toby Smith only had 3 caps, and Ali Alatoa is still to get a Wallabies cap from the Brumbies, but he's only 22. Great to see them picking up some youngsters as well. Okay, they've got 3 hookers coming into this team. You can almost predict these 3. Stephen Moore, Tatafu Pulota now, and James Hansen. No surprises here. I think Hansen needs to be given more opportunities, being the youngest of the 3. And, Stephen Moore, 33 years old, how much longer is he going to be around for? But they need all the experience they can get. It's a tough call here for the Wallabies, whether they go for the future or they go for the win. Of course, Moore captaining the squad as well from the middle of the front row. Right, we make our way out to the second row, and they've picked up a whole host of second rowers here. 7 locks they have called into the squad. Rory Arnold, Sam Carter, Adam Coleman, James Horwell, Dean Mumm, Rob Simmons, and Will Skelton. So it's almost like they've been reluctant to drop anyone, but they've wanted to call up Adam Coleman and Rory Arnold, who are both uncapped and young. Sam Carter, another from the Brumbies. Arnold and Carter have been playing very well together. James Horwell, they've called back from Harlequins as well. 61 caps, of course they can do that. Rob Simmons from the Reds has led a resurgent pack in their Reds team, but I still leave my concerns about Will Skelton in this Wallabies team. He concerns me until he grows up a little bit, but plenty of experience in there. I really don't know if they're going to play a lot with the likes of Coleman or even Arnold for that matter, but it's good to see them picking the youngsters and players from teams like the Western Force and the Melbourne Rebels as well, like Toby Smith, James Hansen, and now one from the Western Force as well, from Adam Coleman. It's good to see that those teams know that players can progress through to the Wallabies squad without having to go one of the big 2 teams as well. So a whole host of locks for the Wallabies. I don't think they've really left anyone behind who they would even consider in their team. Flankers aren't much better. They've picked 5 on the 2 flanks and 3 number 8s. Scott Fardy, Liam Gill, Michael Hooper, Sean McMahon, David Pocock, Leroy Houston. I see everyone's eyebrows raised there, especially from the Northern Hemisphere. Ben McCalman and Wycliffe Palu. Now, I heard the story about Leroy Houston a few weeks ago. You know who you are if you're watching. That he was leaving Bath and coming to play for the Queensland Reds. And how much of a loss that is for Bath, but the dream being realised to come and play for the Wallabies. So Leroy Houston straight into the team. I'm interested to see if they're going to give him any game time with Ben McCalman and Wycliffe Palu on either side of 50 caps. Plenty of experience too on the flanks. Scott Fardy, Michael Hooper and David Pocock there. But I really feel sorry for like Liam Gill. You know, he's leaving 23. What an absolute wasted talent as well, going overseas for the Wallabies. Sean McMahon, they need to get him more involved. He is a monster for the Rebels, and he needs to get more game time for the Wallabies. And really, I really hope these guys get to play. I mean, I can see the series between Australia and England being quite tight, so I just hope that because of that, we still get to see the likes of McMahon and Gill, Houston, and the likes as well in that back row get some game time for the Wallabies. Into the back line now, and we have 3 scrum halves, Nick Frisby, Nick Phibbs, and Joel Powell. Yeah, Joel Powell from the Brumbies. Now, bizarre. Of course, the Brumbies have Thomas Cabelli, who is their number 1 scrum half, yet Czech has gone and picked up Joe Powell. I don't know what he's trying to say here, but either way, whichever way you look at it, there's 2 uncapped scrum halves with Frisby and Powell. I think Frisby from the Reds really has picked that team up from the scruff of the neck and dragged them along through some good performances. Nick Phibbs, I don't think he's been his best this season for the Waratahs. Neither have the Waratahs for that matter, but putting on that yellow jumper really should change him. Frisby will be great off the bench. Only 23 though. He's been around for quite some time, and he's still so young. He has a big future ahead of him, Nick Frisby. Okay, 2 fly halves been picked up, Bernard Foley and Christian Lealiafano. Of course, Lealiafano can play 12 as well. No Tamua with injury as well. But these 2 from the Brumbies and the Waratahs, will they play together? Will they play separate? I think they can't afford to play them both unless they really rejig their backline every single time. But expect it from those 2, both picking up a few caps either side of 20. Into the centres, and it's really hard to actually name these players in position here for the Wallabies because so many of them play multiple positions. So we're just going to rifle through the whole lot of the centres, the wingers, and the fullbacks, and then we'll go through them from there. Okay, so Carmichael Hunt, Samu Karevi, Tavita Kurandrani, Dane Haylett-Petty, Rob Horn, Luke Morahan, Itu Nabuli, Tilik Naravaro, Israel Folau, and Mike Harris. Okay, so Israel Folau, of course, fullback. Will he play in the centres? I mean, he's been playing there for the Waratahs. Who are they going to play at the back? I mean, could they play Carmichael Hunt? Mike Harris could play there, but he's more adept to second 5 or first 5 or fly half even, given whatever he's needed to do as well. Rob Horn, again, another one, centre, wing. Where does he play? Who really knows? Dane Haylett-Petty, I should say, fullback, winger. Where does he come into the equation as well? Depends on Folau, I think, is what they're going to do. Carmichael Hunt, so much controversy surrounds this man. Is he going to get any time on the field? His Reds teammate, Samu Karevi, has been a blockbuster for the Reds this season. Good to see him making his way into this team as well. But are we going to see any game time? Really shows how much the Reds have progressed since those horror first few weeks. Now that they have quite a force, especially in the back line. 3 players with Nabuli in there as well. Western Force have a few players as well. Dane Haylett-Petty and Luke Morahan. The Rebels, of course, have Mike Harris. It's a decent looking back line. You think they're going to go Foley, Lealiafano, Kurandrani, the wings, Rob Horn. And who's going to go on the other side of that? No Tamani. Are we going to see Naya Avoro come into the side? We're going to see Folau come into centre, leave Mike Harris or Hunt at fullback, or Dane Haylett-Petty at fullback. Bring Morahan onto a wing, Nabuli for a debut. I don't think Nabuli's going to come storming into this team and make an impact. He's alright. He's a bit hot and cold, isn't he? But where's he going to have an impact on this game? On this team, I should say, for the Wallabies. It's a really interesting backline conundrum they've got here. Whether they go with the Foley, Lealiafano 10-12, or do they go Foley or Lealiafano at 10, and then do they go Karevi and Kurandrani, Haylett-Petty and Horn, Naya Voro comes in there, Folau centre, fullback. I don't know what they're going to do. But they got some decent talent. I'm a bit skeptical how this team's going to go. There's a lot of players here. Who's going to have the impact? Who's going to have the big input into this game. Their forward pack is going to be tested against England. I have to be completely fair about this. The back line as well. I think it's going to be a good series. I think this will be the closest series, definitely, rather than South Africa and Ireland, New Zealand and Wales. I don't think they'll be as close as this one could be. May even see possibly the series going to the Poms. Who knows? Who really knows? It depends what Australia go with. They've got so many options, and who is and what is their best lineup? It's really up for debate. I'm interested to see what their first 15 will be for that first test in 2 weekends' time. But that is us. Boy, there was a lot of work to go through there to get through those 3 squads. What do you all think about these 3 teams, whether you're from New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, England, Ireland or Wales, coming here or leaving there? What are your thoughts on these 3 squads? Like I said at the start, I'll be having a look at the English, Irish and Welsh squads coming over to this side of the world as well very soon, so you can wait out for that one coming your way. But I'm interested to know what everyone thinks. Who's going to win the series? Who's going to be standouts? What are your thoughts on these 3 squads? Who's going to make an impact for these 3 teams? And that will about do me for a look at these 3 squads. Until next time, thanks for tuning in and watching. If you've enjoyed this, leave a thumbs up and let me know. And I'll see you all next time for more rugby content. Until then, thanks for watching and take care.